Welcome to part four. It's late and I'm tired, but I'm really excited to do part four, so I just sat down to do that. You know, I'm just finding this work really interesting. I've got my dog's ball in my hands. Um, I'm finding this work really interesting, and by work, what I'm talking about is this little system of healing that I've put together to help me work on my own shit, but to also have a system that people can use to heal themselves and heal others. And I'm I'm just really wanting to do this because we're all walking around afraid of certain things, believing certain things, being sabotaged by our own thoughts and beliefs. And what I find really difficult is actually being able to see our own shit. I find it really fascinating how I can sit with a friend or sit with a client and I can just so intuitively pick up their limiting thoughts, what is limiting them, their fears. Not right away always, but it's so much easier to see other people's stuff than our own. Because we're literally looking at it through our own filters. So we're looking at it from our own fears. And this is why I continue to talk about getting into the moment, because when we're in the moment, that is when we're in the space between our thoughts. And I say that being in the moment is where love lives and truth speaks. And then I added where peace flows and joy dances. And these are the things that I've really grown to experience in the moment. And I would say more so through my cancer journeys is when I started to really experience these things. I call it the embodiment of the divine. Like I've said before, I am never here to tell anybody how to believe in God, what to believe in God, or even if you need to call it God. To me, I feel like there are 8 billion of us on the planet, and we all get to have our own experience of what that is. And as time progresses, I feel like what happens is we see things more clearly, which means we become more open. And to me, that means that we become less rigid and we stop focusing so much on what people are trying to teach us. And we're focusing more on what we're experiencing. And I've shared this before, like I've said, I've written 12 books in the last few years. And a lot of them are about the subconscious mind and how I intuitively pick up how it's programmed. I'm never trying to be right, but I'm just trying to share my experiences and my analogies and my visions to make it make sense. I just want to help make these really hard topics make sense. Because if we can dumb it down, remember that they had these books, Keep It Simple, Stupid? I can't remember. Maybe it was just a saying, but I thought that it was a set of books. But I love that because we can make things difficult, which means nobody gets it. Or we can make it simple, which means everybody's going to get a little piece of, oh, fuck, okay, well, that actually makes sense. It makes sense that the subconscious mind is literally a part of us just sitting back taking notes. This is how to get love in this family. This is how we get into trouble in this family. And then through the rest of our lives, what happens is we are alarmed. Don't do these things. When you told the truth before, you got into trouble. So when we try to be honest, we're pulled to stop. We're alarmed to stop. if mom got in trouble for spending money when we were growing up, when we go to spend money, we're going to have this alarm saying, don't do that, because that got mom into trouble all the time. And, you know, if we saw our parents being busy all the time and we try to rest, we're going to be alarmed to stop resting and stay busy, because that's how everybody survived. And that's how people got praise and acceptance as we were growing up, is because they were busy all the time and they were, you know, making money but not having time for the family, or, you know, drinking, or, you know, whatever it was. Like, you know, like I said before, we're all going to have a totally different experience. And what I really, really keep coming to terms with is this beautiful part of my heart that is opening and really recognizing that everybody is doing their best. Everyone is doing their best. Our parents did their very best. We did our very best as parents. But what we get to see now is, okay, for some reason, I used to judge things. I used to blame. And now, like I said, I feel like I'm more in this state of forgiveness and openness to, okay, if we can actually get past this part of us that needs to blame, or, you know, hold someone accountable, maybe we can actually heal deeper. And what I'm really seeing now is us just sitting down saying, hey, I always felt rejected. I tried and tried and tried to get my parents' love, and it never worked. And that's not necessarily the actual truth either. Just because we remembered it that way doesn't mean it actually happened that way. Because if you would, you know, question your parents and your siblings, they may have had a totally different experience. So we don't need to go around, you know, saying this happened and it was bad and it was wrong and my parents did this. But what we're missing, if we don't look back on what happened, is we're missing the opportunity to actually observe it from a new perspective, a perspective of, okay, it didn't feel good for whatever reason. I was doing this and I always felt rejected, and I kept telling myself that I wasn't good enough. And by me thinking I wasn't good enough, I was always trying to be better. I was always trying to pretend. And so that's what this work is that I've been doing, is putting this all together in alignment with our chakras and working through it so that we can balance our emotions and we can really observe those thought patterns. We can feel our emotions. To me, there are different steps and different ways, different steps to our healing. And that's what I've created in these 8-part series, is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to keep doing these videos to make an 8-part series that people can take part in, because I don't feel like there's just one way to heal. And that's the interesting part of this, because for a long time, I was working a lot with the inner child. And so I was convinced it's inner child work. We need to love the inner child. And there was a point where I really felt drawn to connecting with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So then I was like, oh, well, that's what people need. And then there was a time where I was just always sitting in the moment and recognizing that I was feeling my emotions and noticing my thoughts. And so that became the thing. And then I realized we have to express and, you know, express our anger and learn how to be angry and not pretend all the time. And that became the thing. And so, you know, what I'm trying to say is I've written 12 books through the years. And what I'm now seeing is every time I wrote a book, I was in some um, I was in some step of healing, and I thought that was the way to heal. But then what actually would happen is I would continue to meditate and I would continue to listen, um, and have these visions, and I would have a vision that would show me something different. And now, the exciting part of this, it's exciting to me. I don't know if other people are excited about this or not, but the exciting thing to me is I've put it all together, and that's what I want to do with people is work through this so that we work through all of the 8 steps. I know there's only 7 chakras, but I've also, created an 8th step, which is beyond the 7th chakra, which to me is just the void, where we reach the state of observer. I call it the state of ease and flow. So this is what we're going to do. And every time I sit down and I work through a different layer, I see changes in my life. I see beautiful changes. And when we talked about the inner child the first day, part 1 was about the inner child and our connection, and how connecting to our inner child helps to form this new relationship with our health and our happiness. And how that is so important, because if we don't have our health and our happiness, everything really is built on a rocky foundation. And since doing that session, when I sit down and do these videos, I talk about it for about half an hour, and then I do some guided visualization and an energy session on those parts of us, on the core wounds, on the emotional parts, on the parts of our brain that are holding the emotions and creating the habits, and on the parts of our body where it's stored. And so when we're working through that, we're going to start to see that we want to take care of ourselves better. We want to have a better relationship. And I've been eating really healthy. I went back to the gym today. I am just recognizing that I am very interested in what I'm consuming, like what foods I'm eating and what they're doing for my body. Where before I was kind of like, meh, I'll just eat this and I'll eat that. Like, I didn't really pay attention. And everybody's going to be in a different state of mind and a different state of health. And at different times of life, I feel like it's really good for us to be very concerned about what we're eating. And I feel like other people spend too much time being concerned about what they're eating. So everything that I'm doing is all about balance. Some people exercise too much. I went through a time after I left my marriage that I was addicted to exercise, and that wasn't healthy. So it's to really find that balance. And so part 2 was about connecting to the divine masculine and the divine feminine, being able to trust ourselves and trust others, becoming open to give and receive, and being open to being alone, but also not being attached to needing to be alone all the time. And yesterday's video was about connecting to our inner power, and that was our solar plexus chakra. And that was about forming a relationship with our past, a healthy relationship with our past and our loved ones, which was about being able to listen to, I've got my dogs full, being able to listen to others, and being able to forgive ourselves and others, and also being able to balance our emotions of anger, and recognizing that when we express our anger in an open, honest way, we actually feel peace. There's always peace on the other side of our emotional pain. We just have to know what to do with it. And yesterday's video was about being able to express our anger. When I was married, I never fought with my husband. We never, ever, ever fought. Didn't mean I was happy. Didn't mean I liked him. Didn't mean I liked how I was being treated. But there was a part of me that was always too afraid to question and express how I was feeling. But yet, when we met, I was the one crashing out all the time, having some huge emotional overreactions. So I might have learned that when you do that, you lose love and people leave you. So then, and I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine I had a good talk with myself and I was like, okay, let's not do that again. And then I stuffed everything from that point forward, which is not healthy. And I'm actually convinced that the reason that I got cancer so many times is because I never, ever, ever expressed my anger. I suppressed it and I stuffed it and I pretended everything was okay. So when we learn how to express ourselves and can say openly and honestly that I'm not okay, and to know that it's okay not to be okay, that's when we harness this inner power that we were working with last night when we were working with the solar plexus chakra. And tonight, what we're working with is connecting to the moment. And this is so powerful because, like I said, when we're in the moment, that's when we're in the space between our thoughts. Because our thoughts are pulling us to the past where we regret and we resent. They're pulling us to the future where we're worried or we're thinking we need something in order to be happy. They're pulling us to the world where we're distracted and divided. And it also pulls us to need or save or blame or please others. So, those are just 4 of the core ways that our thoughts are being pulled. But when we're pulled by our thoughts, we're no longer in the moment. And when we're in the moment, we're embodying and embracing this moment. And so we're experiencing it, which means we're actually living it. Otherwise, we're stuck in our thoughts. And so when we're stuck in our thoughts, we're getting, like I said, we're regretting, we're resenting, we're worrying, we're thinking we need something to be happy, or we're blaming people, or we're trying to please them, or we're distracted by the world, or we're divided, we're making judgments, we're complaining. All of these things are literally us turning our back on whatever it is you believe is God. To me, love and joy and peace and truth is the embodiment of the divine. I see God as the loving mother and the loving father. I call it the divine mother and divine father. You don't have to, but that is how I feel held and safe and protected and provided for in the moment, is by being with that energy. And so anything other than being here in this moment in our bodies, aligned with the divine, is us turning our back on it. So we're turning our back on love, we're turning our back on joy, we're turning our back on peace, we're turning our back on truth. And interestingly enough, in the Bible, they called it sin. And to me, I don't believe that sin is something that we're doing that's wrong, that's going to get us punished. But we suffer when we sin, because to me, the word sin actually means turning our back on God, meaning we're not embodying love and joy and peace and truth. We're not here in the moment. So anytime we're not here in the moment, we're suffering. And yes, there are times that we need to figure shit out. We need to think about things. But it's the level of consciousness that we're in that makes the difference. Because when we're in a state of fear, we're in fight or flight, which means it feels like we're drowning. And if someone asks you a question and you have to give them an answer and you're drowning, chances are you're not going to give them a very well thought out answer. And that's how it feels when we're in fight or flight. I've been chased by a bear before. It wasn't like a foot race, but I was on the beach and the bear was behind me, and it was a really windy day, so I didn't hear the bear coming up. I heard a stick break, which made me turn around and look, and the bear was behind me. So I had to move closer to the bear to get my paddle and my shoes because I had been kayaking that day. So I had to go closer to the bear. I thought the bear was going to leave, like run away, because I grabbed my paddle and I was waving it, but it actually came up over the hill toward me. So I pulled my kayak into the water and I ended up getting away, but he was following me along the beach. So it wasn't like he's chasing me through the bush, like, right? But he was still coming for me. And I was really fucking scared. And me being that afraid really showed me what I've been talking about all these years about being in fight or flight. You're not thinking properly. Your immune system is not, wondering, how are we going to, block out these bacteria and viruses? What are we keeping out? What are we letting in? Your immune system shuts down or slows down. Your digestive function shuts down and slows down, depending on the level of fight or flight that you're in. But your thoughts pull you into fight or flight. So when you're thinking scary thoughts, when you're regretting, you're resenting, when you're angry, like anything that is not love is based in fear. So when you're afraid, when you're angry, all of these things, regretting, resenting, worrying, like I said, that's putting you in fight or flight. And so that literally means you're not listening to the truth. You're not letting love lead you. You are overreacting and you're not responding with love. And so this is why it's so important to be in the moment. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. And this is what we're going to practice. Because being in the moment, to me, I used to meditate. I started meditating for an hour a day in 2016. And it was a really cool practice. But what I thought meditation was ended up being much different than my experience. I thought people just sat and, said mantras or whatever it was. I'm just going to move because my legs are sore today. But what actually ended up happening is I was following this celebrity coach online, and he had told the people following him to get up the next morning for an hour and meditate. And I was so angry when he said that, because I really desperately wanted to heal a lot of my shit. I could tell that there were a lot of choices that I was making that were based in addictions. And I just didn't want to fucking do it. But yet I knew that I wanted to heal. And so I woke up the next morning and I got in the tub. And for about 59 minutes and 47 seconds, I always say a different time every time I say this story, but I felt rage, like fucking rage. I felt like there was a caged animal inside my heart. There was so much rage. But near the end, there was a spark of something that I now call peace. I didn't know what it was, but it was interesting enough to get me in the tub the next day. And the next day, I felt a shit ton of rage again, and a little bit more of that spark. And I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And what eventually happened is I felt more of the peace and less of the rage. And so what happens is when we start to take these breaks, we actually start to process the emotions that we've been stuffing all these years. So it's such a beautiful thing to begin to meditate. But when I say meditate, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I sit for 10 minutes quietly. That's fine. You can sit for 10 minutes, you can sit for 20 minutes, you can sit for 30 minutes. But honestly, I just keep telling people, if you don't sit for an hour, you're not going to reach the peace on the other side of that pain. I've been doing this since 2016. I've taken some breaks and lost touch with the practice a little bit over the years, but I've always come back to it. And, I've consecutively been doing it for years, especially since I was sick. But I've always found that many times it takes at least 45 minutes to reach a space between my thoughts, because sometimes there's so much going on in our lives that we don't reach those states, which means that we're really not in the moment, which means we're not in that place of peace and love and joy and truth. To me, truth is a big part of it, because when we're meditating and really getting into the moment, that's when we start to have visions. That's when we start to know things. That's where our intuition begins to speak to us. And when I started energy medicine in 2007, I didn't even know the word intuition. I had never even heard that word. But because I had chronic abdominal pain every day and I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, this little computer programmer who needed a scientific answer for everything decided to try energy medicine, and I got the session and all my pain was gone the next day. I had been on Tylenol 3s every day just to get through the day, through the pain. And that one session where it literally seemed like she did nothing healed my pain. And it's never come back. That's 2007. So that's when I dove into this system. But like I said, I dove into the system as a computer programmer. Part of me wanted to prove that maybe there was something more to life, but part of me was taking these courses to prove that it was all bullshit, and then I could just lay all this to rest. But after the first 4-day workshop that I took, I was like, oh my God, there is something so much more powerful than we even know, and that's where this all began. So that's what actually happens when you get into the moment, is your intuition starts to speak to you. Your intuition is always speaking to you. You just don't listen to it. So what if you actually started to sit every day for an hour and listen to the divine? What a difference is that going to make in your life? And you're not going to know until you do it. So to me, once again, it's about putting your hand on your heart, breathing into the moment, feeling your emotions, and noticing your thoughts. And as you're noticing your thoughts, you're going to start to discern from the subconscious mind pulling you to these belief systems that are not true, and the divine pulling you to what is true. And you know it's true because it's expanding you, it's leading you, it's guiding you. And this is why, if you do it every day, you start to discern what those voices are, because it is hard. We're going to have voices of, do this and do this and do this. And then we're also going to have the voice that says, don't do this. And we have to start to be like, well, what's coming from my heart and what is coming from my fear? And I'm, like I said, I've been doing this for 19 years. And there are situations in my life right now where I'm like, I don't fucking know what is right or what is wrong. A lot of situations, I really have clarity. Other ones, not so much. But that's how life works, is you listen, you move forward. You listen again, you move forward. You might be moved to something that doesn't feel like it's right for you, but when you're moved to something that doesn't feel right for you, there's a lesson to be learned. There's always a lesson to be learned. So I don't know if we ever make a mistake or choose the wrong path. I feel like we're always on the divine path, but a lot of times we need to veer off of what is good for us in order to really realize and notice what we do or don't want. So in order to get into the moment, what we get to do, or what we get to remember, is when you're engaging with your senses, you're being pulled into your body, and that's where you are embodying this moment. And you can't think and embody the moment at the same time. And I actually found this out by accident. I had been, skidooing with my husband at the time, and I realized that we could be in the most beautiful place. And I would get so angry about things that weren't happening, things that hadn't happened in years. But I would think about it and think about it and think about it. And I would get so angry or so afraid. And then I would see the beautiful trees again. And I would start to look at the trees. And I would breathe into the moment. And then I would start thinking again. And I would notice, like, holy fuck, I haven't seen a tree in over an hour because I was thinking. So I actually started to really play with it. And I do know now that when you really engage with your senses, you're pulling yourself out of those thoughts into the moment where you're aligned with the divine, where you're embodying this moment, and you are in your body. And that's where love lives. That's where truth speaks. That's where peace flows. That's where joy dances. So, when you're wherever you are, if you place your hand on your heart, you're in the moment because you're feeling your hand on your heart. A really big way that I like to get into the moment, not a big way, but a effective way. I'm starting to get really tired. A really effective way to get into the moment is to breathe through your nostrils. Because you feel it more when the air is going into your nostrils. So if you practice that and really feel it, you notice that you're pulled into your body. When you're eating and you're tasting your food, you're being pulled into the moment. When you're looking at, I'm looking at my window, when you're looking at the birds, when you're looking at the trees, when you're looking at the sky, you're in the moment. When you're smelling the fresh air, there's nothing more beautiful than the smell of fresh air. When you're smelling that fresh air, it's pulling you into the moment. When you're listening to the birds or the water, it pulls you into the moment. Not only that, but something to note is when you're living, you're in the moment. Like when you're singing, when you're dancing, when you're writing, when you're talking to a good friend. There are so many things that we're doing. When you're not thinking about it and just doing it, you're in the moment. That's why, creative expression is so important, because when we're creating something, we're in the moment. Some people, some people are very intellectual, and when they're solving problems, they're in the moment, right? Like, it just depends. Everybody is so different. That's why it's so important to find what you love and do it. Like, do it. I love going to the gym. I still sabotage myself and try not to go, but I'm kind of locked in today, and I'm like, nope, I fucking love the gym, and I'm going to make sure that I go, because I don't feel so alive. I don't feel as alive as I do at the gym any other ways. I don't know if I said that properly. I meditate every day. I love writing, journaling, talking to my friends, like being with my kids, petting my dog. These are all things that pull us into the moment. And the beautiful thing about that is when we're in our thoughts, we're in some form of fight or flight, which means our body is not functioning properly. Our thoughts, nerves that fire together, wire together. So these old belief systems based in fear, like I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I'm a failure, they just keep speaking and speaking and running and running. Our thoughts generate our emotions, and our thoughts come from our beliefs. And so when we're in the moment, we're experiencing something different than what our thoughts are trying to tell us. And a lot of people talk about affirmations and, all of these different ways to reprogram our subconscious thoughts or beliefs. I'm not here to say anybody's right or wrong, but I really believe that you can't reprogram something from the same level of consciousness it was created in. So if you're actively trying to reprogram your subconscious mind, you're in a state of trying, which is not a state of flow. And so you're trying to do it for a purpose. You want to reprogram your mind so you can attract the partner of your dreams. You want to change your thought patterns because you want to make so much money. Like, that's how people do it. I want this, and so I'm going to reprogram my beliefs and everything's going to be great. Well, you can do it all you want, but I don't believe it works. What does work is being in the moment and experiencing safety. Because when you feel safe in the moment, then the thoughts that are trying to tell you that you're not safe are going to eventually, those neural pathways are eventually going to start to fade and fall and eventually dissolve. And so the same goes for, feeling loved, feeling abundant, feeling held by the divine parents, divine mother, divine father, where we know that everything is happening for a purpose, for us. That's when we're reprogramming, because we're not trying to. We're reprogramming it by experiencing the opposite. And that's really the basis of all the work that I've been doing. And I feel like it's really powerful, yet really simple. It's simple, but it isn't easy, because it's a process, and it's a process that we get to do every day. And like I said, I encourage people to do at least an hour a day, because otherwise you're not getting to the other side of that emotional pain that shows up. Because when we put our hands on our heart, like I said before, we're going to feel emotional pain. And we move through it, and we move through it. We feel it, we feel it, we feel it, and eventually we get to the other side of it. And what's on the other side is peace. What's on the other side is joy. What's on the other side is love. And what's on the other side is truth. And so when we start to live in that space, we want more of that space. That space, to me, is what they called heaven, what they call nirvana. That is what we experience, and we get to experience that every day, multiple times, depending on what we're doing what we love, getting into the moment, however that works for us. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to work through the heart chakra so that we form a relationship with peace and presence. I'm just looking at my chart as I talk. Because what we're doing, the opposite of that, is us analyzing everything that's going on. We're analyzing our thoughts. We're analyzing the world. We're analyzing our relationships. Holy fuck, as I'm saying this, I'm like, I've really stepped away from analyzing the world. Doesn't interest me anymore. But one thing that I am stuck in, and I always try to talk about my own struggles, because I never want people to think that, oh, I've got all my shit together and I have no more problems. It's not true. I'm always going to have problems, and I'm always going to sit down and talk about them, because I don't ever want anyone else to feel alone or afraid or weird that they've been doing this for so many years and they still have problems. That's the journey of life. So I see how much I do analyze relationships in my life, and that comes from what we were talking about with the sensual sexual chakra, this lack of trusting myself, lack of trusting others, and lack of trusting God, the divine. So when we have that trust, then we will step away from analyzing and fighting what's happening in the moment. And what this does is it helps us have clarity. And I really do believe that, um, I really do believe that it's a journey, like I said, because I wish things were easier. Like, I really fucking wish things were easier. And sometimes I do judge myself. It's like, seriously, you meditate so much. You do everything that you tell people to do. You are so committed to healing every day. Um, but things are still not clear about certain things in life. But what I'm really, really coming to terms with is I'm really grateful for that. And I talk a lot about this person that I've been spending time with for the last 10 and a half months. And I've just been so on again and off again, running. It's like, yeah, you don't want the same things that I want. Let's end this. And then I quit talking to him. But it's so fucking weird that he's become such a close friend of mine and such a big part of my life. It's not how I wanted it, because I want the relationship. I want to have a good man in my life to spend time with. And but this person works away, so he's never home. And so in my mind, I'm always trying to make this decision. Is this going to work? Is it going to be a relationship ever? Do I want to spend time with him? And I'm always analyzing. I have spent so much time in the last 10 and a half months wasted on these questions and, this analyzing. And every time I make my mind up that, like, you know what, this isn't going to work and we don't want the same things and he's never even home, what's the fucking point? He calls me every single night. We talk every day. But we have these conversations and I'm like, I'm not ready to give this up. Like, we laugh so fucking hard about stupid shit. We talk about spirit and our core wounds, and there's so many things that we talk about. It's like, I don't want to not have this in my life. So isn't it interesting that I finally just realized what a gift it is to not know the answer sometimes? Because maybe we will never be in a romantic relationship, but maybe he's always going to be my friend. And had I known that we weren't going to be in a relationship ever, I wouldn't have built this relationship as a friend with him. I don't know. Life just has a way of fucking surprising us all the time. So what we're going to do now is connect to the moment. And I invite you to place your hand on your heart and take some nice, full, deep breaths. Breathe in through your nostrils and feel yourself being grounded right here in this moment. And as you begin to enter this moment, just notice how your body's feeling. Notice if there's any emotions showing up and what part of your body they're showing up in. Sometimes you feel it in your stomach, sometimes you feel it in your chest. Just notice. And just realize that it's just a part of your inner child speaking to you. So listen. If there's a part of you that is sad, there's a part of you that is sad. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fix it. Don't be afraid of it. Just feel it. It's just like a small child walking into the kitchen crying. Do you try to fight that kid? Do you try to fix that kid? Are you afraid of that kid? No. You hold that child. So every time you're feeling emotions, hold your inner child. To me, the word heal means hold them, encourage them, accept them, and love them. Do that anytime emotions surface. And start to listen to and notice the thoughts that are showing up that are causing these emotions to be generating. Your thoughts generate your emotions. What are you thinking? Where are those thoughts coming from? Again, not trying to fight them, not trying to fix them, not being afraid of them, just noticing. Noticing that it's coming from a part of your life. And we'll continue to work together on these things. But like I said, these subconscious thoughts are coming from these beliefs, and they're based in fear. And when we embody love, we're reprogramming without even trying. Bit by bit, day by day. So breathe into this moment. I can hear blue jays outside my window pulling me back into my body. And anytime you can go into nature, nature is going to pull you into the moment. And if you can't go into nature, imagine it. Imagine a beautiful nature scene now. I always have a lake in my nature scene. So notice, where would you love to be in nature? Is there water? Are there mountains? What is the ground like? If you could be anywhere in nature, where would you be? And imagine it now. Listen. Listen to the water moving if there's water in your nature scene. Listen to the birds if there are birds. Listen to the wind rustling through the trees or the grass. What do you hear in your nature scene? Smell the air. How does the air smell in your nature scene? Move through your nature scene and feel every step that you're taking. Feel your bare feet on the sand, on the grass, in the water, and let that pull you right into this moment. And find a space in your nature scene that's calling to you. Somewhere that you can sit or lie down. And feel as you sit or lie on the ground. Feel all of the tension releasing from the top of your head all the way down through your body. Feel it moving its way down into the earth. And let's do this together where you just feel like there's this really nice, thick liquid. It's a warm liquid and it's flowing down your head. And as it's going to move, I'm going to guide you. But as it moves down your body, feel it permeating every single cell. So if it's moving down your head and the sides of your head, feel it moving right through every single cell in your brain, down your eyes. As it's moving through your chest, feel it through your organs, through your fascia, through your muscles, through your bones. So let's start right from the top of your head. And as it's moving down, it's melting all of your tension, your physical tension, your emotional tension, your mental tension, spiritual tension. Just feel it all melting and taking any toxic residue. Is it toxic thoughts, toxic emotions, toxic beliefs, toxins from the world, from the air? Feel that all being dragged down with it. So start at the top of your head, the front, back, and the sides, moving all the way down so you're feeling the tension in your forehead releasing down through your eyes, the sides and the back of your head down so that you're feeling your jaw releasing. Feel it moving down so your tongue releases. Feel it moving down through your neck, the front, back, and the sides. Feel it moving through your shoulders, down your arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, and your hands. Feel it moving down through your chest, the front, back, sides, all the way down through your diaphragm. Remember, through every organ, through the fascia, the muscles, your spine. Feel it moving down through your abdomen, through your digestive system, and moving down through the pelvis. Feel all of this tension moving down into the earth, and feel this beautiful, healing, warm liquid moving down your legs, through your muscles, your tendons, your bones, your fascia, permeating every single cell, moving down your upper legs, down into your knees, moving through your knees, down through your calves, to your ankles and your feet. And just taking a nice full deep breath and just breathe in this beautiful healing air that's coming from your nature scene. Imagine that every breath you take in your nature scene is a loving, healing, healing air that is giving you this vibrancy and life. Breathe it in, feeling it moving through your lungs. And feel it moving through every cell in your body. Feel every cell and the receptors on your cells inviting this beautiful, fresh, loving, healing air to flow through. Feel your cells lighting up in your brain, in your mind, in your head, in your heart, in your lungs, in your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, your bladder, your kidneys, your spleen, your pancreas, your liver, your gallbladder, your muscles, your connective tissue, your bones. Feel it moving through all of your cells and just lighting you up with this beautiful, beautiful green color. This green color is coming from your heart chakra. And place your hands on your heart and really feel this energy of your heart chakra. Feel this light, this energy, this love. Feel it starting to glow and glow and glow, and as it's glowing, it's growing. Breathe in. Every breath you take is feeding this heart chakra energy, this energy of love and healing and expansion. Feel it moving through every cell and receptor on your cell through your body. I'm always really drawn to the receptors because they're so important. I believe our receptors hold a page of our belief systems, a page of our story that we tell ourselves. So we want to touch the receptors on every cell with the truth that is based in love and expansion and moving forward toward our divine purpose. So feel every breath that you take feeding this beautiful heart energy, and the heart energy is moving through every cell, and every cell and receptor that it touches, it grows and it glows and it grows and it glows. And feel it glowing and growing till it's reaching your whole body and expanding past your body. Our heart energy actually emits 10 feet out from our heart. So feel it emitting 10 feet above you and in front of you and beneath you and behind you and on your sides. Just feel this expansive energy that's leading you and guiding you and protecting you and providing for you. It's healing you. And again, the word heal to me means being held, encouraged, accepted, and loved. What more do we need? And as you're doing this session, in the next few days, you're going to feel more alive. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more courageous. You're going to feel more in purpose. You're going to feel more aligned. And so when you continue to stay in the moment, every time you get into the moment by engaging with your senses and embodying the moment, or really living, like I said, doing what you enjoy, do what you love and love what you do, that's all pulling you into the moment. And every time you do that through these days, it's going to ignite this heart energy, and it's going to continue to heal you and lead you and guide you. And like I said, you're going to continue to feel held. You're going to continue to feel encouraged. You're going to continue to feel accepted. You're going to continue to feel loved. So continue to spend time in the moment, in your heart, with love, as love, because when you spend time with love, you actually become love. So become the love you seek. Become the truth you speak. When you become it, you're no longer seeking it. You're no longer separate from it. You're aligned with it. So continue to connect every day for as long as you can. So place your hands on your heart. Once again, take some nice, full, deep breaths. Breathe in the energy that's going to continue to ignite this heart energy of healing and love. And breathe out anything else, anything that is based in fear, breathe it out. Breathe it out from your cells and breathe it back into your cells. Breathe this loving, healing light into your cells. Breathe out anything toxic and based in fear out. So continue that through the night and as many times as you can until you listen to the next video. Thank you so much for your time. I will talk to you soon.